Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here, and to conclude my aviation-themed month, I am going to show off a very special Autobot, the Air Guardian Jetfire. Now, Jetfire is a special toy in the lineup. Like the previously filmed Roadbuster and Whirl, along with the deluxe Insecticons, Ransack, Chop Shop, Barrage, and Venom, Jetfire here was made by the toy company Bandai, who at the time had also been producing the Machine Robo toys that were featured as the GoBots. Now, for this required Hasbro to come up with a special way to allow Takara to allow Jetfire to be promoted, as since he was made by a competitor at that time, Takara would not want the toy featured in any of the media. But as you can see by the size of him, Hasbro would want this toy to be advertised in some way. So they took some liberties with it, and instead he was featured like this as the cartoon character and would be called Skyfire. Jetfire here was available in 1985 as part of the second wave of Transformers, and he would still be on the shelves in 1986. He would be discontinued in 1987, and we really didn't get a replacement for him. Jetfire was introduced in the cartoon, as I mentioned earlier, under the name of Skyfire. He was portrayed as a Cybertronian scientist who worked at one time with Starscream. The two of them had flown through the cosmos and stumbled upon an ancient version of Earth. Jetfire, or Skyfire, however you want to call him, suffered some mechanical troubles and ended up crashing on the planet and found himself frozen in a glacier until he was revived in the modern era by the other Decepticons. While he was willing to work with them because of his friend Starscream, he eventually defected to the Autobots due to their treatment of the population and such. As a toy here, Skyfire is pretty posable. So here's one for Bandai on it. But you also might, before we get into posing him, you might recognize him if you're also a fan of 80s anime, as Jetfire is one of the mecha found in the Macross series of anime, which was also shown in America as Robotech. Getting back to the posability, he has quite a bit of it. The head can turn to both sides, so he can look around. He can raise his arm at the shoulder. He does have a joint here at the elbow and at the bicep, allowing for a wide range of poses for his arms. He can also raise his arm quite a bit to the side there, just like that. Bring his arms up a little bit here. He does have a joint here at the hip. Does have one at the hip. It's more used for transforming. He does have it here at the upper leg and at the knee. Now in this mode here, Jetfire is souped up in the classic, in some of the extra armor that the Veritech fighters, as they were called in the Robotech anime, could don for extra power and range. We're going to take a lot of this off of him so you can get a better look at him. Remove the gauntlets from the arms. Carefully remove his leg armor. Yeah, it's supposed to come apart like that, folks. We'll show you how it all works out later with the pieces list, as we usually do. near the end of the video. And on his backside here, he does have a backpack, which the rockets do attach to. It's a little bit easier to handle if the rockets are removed. Although trying to fight that one out kind of loosened it up. Ching. And there we go. Get all that out of the way here. And there you have it. This is Jetfire without all the armor on. Looks a little bit sleeker in this mode. As you can imagine, since he is white, he is very prone to yellowing from sun exposure. So if you have a pretty modestly white one like mine is here, make sure to keep him away from the windows. Okay. Let's transform Jetfire. While we've got him out of his armor, we'll go ahead and take his gun away from him. And we'll twist this arm so it's facing the same way. I'm going to start by bringing his arms up a little bit like that. And we're going to turn him around. And we'll bring out his wings a little bit. And fold down his backpack to become his tail section. And fold out the wings of it. Then we're going to fold down the antenna here on his head. And we separate out the back unit here, so that we can bring it forward. It's connected here by a little tab. There it goes. Just bring it forward like that. Fold his head to go down under. And slide the chest in. Get that piece back in there so it all folds down like that. Now back here, as we already got his landing gear down, we take the legs, disengage the metal here from the side. You'll see this little black tab here, and you just fold that back and under. No, wait a minute, we missed something here. Sorry folks, it's been a while since I've played with him. We've got to bring his arms in and fold them down, as well as take the knobs and slide his fists back. He is a handful to transform, folks, so please do be patient. Not only with him, but with me too. Alright, now we get this section folded over and all the way back to the side. There we go. And all the way to the back. And while we're at it, you push these little levers here, and it'll pop out his landing gear. And then you set him down, and there he is in his alternate mode. A super jet, as they refer to it. But if you're going by the Macross and Robotech definition, he is a VF-1S Super Valkyrie. Which does look pretty impressive, especially when you consider that he is, in fact, the biggest of the air vehicles that was done for the Generation 1 toy line. Now, to arm Jetfire with his weapon on this mode, he does come with a little clip that the gun mounts to. And while you're using him in flight, you simply connect it back in here to, probably got it on here backwards here. There we go. Connect it in there to one of the arms, and then he has the cannon mounted underneath him. It's a bit awkward looking, but whatever works, I guess. They don't really show in the instructions how to attach it. One thing to keep an eye out for on loose Jetfires is the stickers on his wings. Not only are they susceptible to damage from being put in and out all the time, but sometimes early versions along the wing straps here, along these wings, it does have the UN Spacey symbol on them from his Macross days. Let's see. Right here in the video games instruction manual. This right here. This is the UN Spacey insignia. This black portion would be red on it. But some of the early versions of Jetfire have that on the wings still instead of just the plain stripe. A slight oversight on Bandai's part before they released them over here as Jetfire. And yes, before any of you fans of Macross or Robotech ask, yes, that does show in the instructions a picture of putting him in the Gerwalk or Guardian mode, as was featured in their respective series. It does not tell you how to convert him into that mode, but it does show that it is an option. Unfortunately on mine, the front landing gear does not stay retracted unless he's in the robot mode, so it's a slight detraction, but otherwise it does look rather nice and imposing. And it also puts his gun at about Starscream's head. Before we take a look at this menagerie of parts that Jetfire has, I want to point out a couple of other things. One is that the gun is always intended to go in Jetfire's right hand. The left hand is completely solid. One other thing to pay attention to is on transforming him, you have these metal bars here are rubbing against this plastic. Now, if you force it too hard, you will end up popping the metal right out of the plastic. This isn't held in very well, as I just spent a few minutes here between the take getting the metal back into the plastic. So, when you've got a loose Jetfire, handle him with care on that. Okay, now we're going to take a quick look at his pieces, and as you can see, he does have quite a few pieces. We're going to start off with his gun, which his gun is described in the instructions as a photon missile launcher. So if that's true, that gives him quite a powerful weapon there. As we know from the Macross and Robotech animes, this was simply their cannon. They had missiles for in the other modes that were launched from different areas on the plane and the Guardian modes, but this was just an ordinary cannon. We also have what's commonly known as the most missing part on Jetfire, and that is the mounting pod. This is also called the gun clip. This is what the gun clips to when you're mounting it on his airplane mode. But since most people do not know what to do with it, as the instructions do not show where it goes or how to attach it, then there's my Butterfingers dropping it on the floor. It is known as one of the most notorious pieces to find. You will have to pay a premium if you're buying this loose. Next we come to his armor, and there is quite a few pieces to his body armor. We'll start off with this piece here. This is what is known as his back guard. This is the piece that connects onto his backpack unit. And as you can imagine, this end down here is made of very thin plastic, as are these two tabs up here at the top. So always check them over for stress wear and such. You also have a pair of these turbo thrusters. These are the jet boosters that are on it. They look pretty much exactly the same. They're a right and a left unit, so make sure if you're buying them loose, you get the one that you need. Then we have a pair of arm guards here. The arm guards are exactly the same, so it doesn't matter which one goes on his right arm or his left arm. You want to make sure that this little black piece hasn't come out of there. It's not supposed to, so always check for that. Let's also check down around in this area here and these tabs back here. Check them for stress wear, since those are the parts that are being clamped onto Jetfire's arms. They are also prone to wear and tear. And lastly, you have the leg guards and fenders. The leg guard on these, as you can see, they're a right and a left. We're going to set one of them down so you can take a better look. This part here that goes on the side is the leg guard, and then the rest of it is the fender. The thing on the fenders is you're going to want to check these little tabs on each one, because as you can imagine, they break easily. And then there's also this side buckle that wraps around the side. And as you can see by the close-up here, mine is starting to stress wear. So I'm going to have to be careful with how often he gets played with, which, as you can imagine, isn't much at my age anymore. The same thing is true for the one on the opposite end here. You can see it's exactly the same. This one's doing the stress wear on the inside instead of on the outside. Something to keep an eye on for you collectors. Always check both sides of the fenders for his leg armor. Before putting it on all the way, I figure I better show you all at home how you would get the armor put on. We've already got the one piece on the one leg, so we'll just go with the other leg. To get the leg armor on, it's easiest to separate the fender from the leg guard. And then slip these two small tabs over the wing, over and under the wing. That's here, and get it flush against his leg. Turn him to the side here. We'll move the leg. You should just barely be able to see the holes for the posts on the fender. So you would just line it up and clamp it into place. That's the easiest way to get his leg armor on. Quit bending your legs while I'm holding you. Next, we're going to put on his back guard, since it's a little more complex to do. The back guard goes on. First, shift this a little bit so we can get that landing gear in and out of the way. You just slide the hole in around that, and then gently bring it down flush against his back. And these two front tabs should clip just beyond the end of the tail section. Mount his arm guards by clamping the top portion onto the back end of his arm, and then just bring it down and snap it into place. Do that again here with the opposite. And then lastly, you take his turbo boosters and you snap this piece in onto the bars. You put it so that the hole that you snap it in goes against his back. Just like that. And we'll turn him around so he can face you. And give him his gun. And there you have it. He's got his armor. And so now we'll pull out his instruction manual. And he had the new style of instructions that was being done in 1985, where this was all pretty much black and white with a little bit of gray and all the red in here to indicate he was an Autobot, despite the fact that it says Heroic Autobot down here. Then right here we show off all the loose pieces. And then we go into his rather complicated transformation sequence. In reality, it isn't all that complicated, so much so as it's just a pain to deal with. But I've heard many G1 fans have had a lot of complaints about how he took forever to transform. They could never get him to come out right, and they eventually just, okay, Mom, I'm tired of playing with this stupid toy. Get rid of it. What a shame. Sorry about that there, folks. Slipped right out of my fingers here. Here we go on the back side. Shows how the armor connects. And right there shows the Guardian or Gerwalk configuration. Like I said, all they do is they show you the picture. You're on your own. And then lastly, he's got two pages of sticker application. That must have taken a lot of people a while. And then here at the back page, he has a thing telling about saving the robot points and how to read his tech spec. Strangely, he is missing the one main factor that was introduced in the line in 1985, a rub sign. Jetfire does not have a rub sign on him. Possibly due to the fact that since he was being made by Bandai, that could have been a catch that they themselves put on with it. Or he was being brought in the early stages before they had that fully planned and finalized out. It could be any number of reasons as to why he doesn't have it. We won't theorize on it here. Now, as for his tech spec, I've got a real treat for you, fans. This is the Canadian version of his tech spec. We've got English here on one side, and on the opposite side we have the French version. I'll leave it up there for those of you who are considerably more fluent in French than I am. Feel free to pause the video if you would like to read it for yourselves. I will not make an attempt because what little I have, I am sure I have messed up considerably. But we'll get back here. This picture over here is of him. This would have been on the front of the box. It's all done in red to indicate he's an Autobot. And it gives his name as Jetfire, and his function is Air Guardian. His personal motto is, "Among mysteries of science lies the key to victory." Swiftest Autobot, daring in battle, believes victory will come via technological advancement. Adds twin scramjet modules and liquid hydrogen fuel tanks to escape Earth's gravity. Flies halfway around the world in 30 minutes. Carries 4 particle beam cannons and heat-seeking photon missiles. Prone to mechanical failures due to advanced technology. Nice to see that as a scientist, as he was described in the cartoon, he's willing to design these things and test them out on himself. Kind of risky, but a little bit gutsy too. Now we're going to lay the decoder here on the tech specs, and as you can see, he is he's got a lot of high marks in here. His strength comes in at a 6. His intelligence and speed are both 10s. His endurance is at 5. His rank is at 10. His courage is at 9. His firepower is 7, and his skill is 9. All in all, he's a rather impressive and powerful addition to the Autobot army. Now we come to, what do I think of him? Well, Jetfire is an impressive toy. He's also going to be one of the more expensive ones for any pure collector who's going to seek him out to be in pure white condition. A feat that is very trying at best. Jetfire is a worthy addition to any collector for the Autobots due to the fact that he is one of the few flying Autobots available. That much alone also adds to the desire to add him to one's collection. His history with Starscream also boasts his popularity. Then there's the fact that he is also pretty much a copy of a Macross or Robotech vehicle, thus making him also a worthy addition to collectors of the mecha from that series, whichever way you wish to pronounce or call the series. I'm an anime fan myself. I have seen both versions of it, and I don't have a preference for either one. I find both of them to be enjoyable in their own right. And as such, when I first decided to get back into the Transformers, Jetfire was one of the first I sought out, and by some miracle managed to find relatively early and all in one complete package. Now, if only I could find a decent box for Jetfire so all of his pieces would be kept together. And that concludes my review of the Autobot Generation 1 Air Guardian Jetfire, as well as concludes my aviation-themed month. I hope you all enjoyed it, and please do thumbs up on YouTube, subscribe if you haven't already, post a comment. Next week we start going back to various Transformers. I'm going to try within the next couple of months to hit up some of the other subgroups and themes that have been done. So look forward to an exciting and varied appearance of Transformers. This is Sparkster1701 saying catch y'all later.